Welcome to the Golden Mike podcast, where personal growth simply isn't enough. I'm your host, Marc, Cordon, a positive psychology coach, a do-gooder from the island of misfit toys who founded the Joy Revolution. Each week I'll wrap with an extraordinary guest doing extraordinary things through their own revolutionary work to talk about the ups, downs, and all-arounds of life. It's my mission to provoke and empower you through increased joy and inspire you to spark your own revolution to change history for the better. Welcome to the most serious happiness podcast in this multiverse. Welcome to the Golden Mike podcast.
All the things that had to happen to be in New York City at the same time. When he walked into my room, I could see God. Like it's like a mountain had sprouted legs and walked in, the majesty and the divinity presence behind his eyes. And he picked up a healing process that wasn't just about my brain. It began healing issues around father for me. And Jay contributed that to that situation too, and so did David, and so did Spencer, and so did Kevin. All these people, I had no idea what I was doing when I pulled together this panel, or the healing, or the transformation that would occur because of it. I just did what I was guided to do, and then the surgeon walks into my room and has his hands in my brain. You know, driving
That's what you get for sticking it out.
Yeah, driving a little robot through my brain to get the abscess out. Yeah, right. That's what I get for staying, right? Yeah, it's funny because I was told that I'd have an opportunity to leave, and I would have to choose whether or not I wanted to stay here. And
wait, you were told by what?
I was told by a reader that I would have an opportunity to leave and go teach somewhere else, or to stay. And I would have to be so anchored in my body to make the decision I needed to make or would make. And honestly, that's what led to me training so hard. I love working out. It's it's my thing. But I was next level. It's I was bionic. My body-mind connection was so powerful. There were moments that I was in my workouts and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Mm-hmm. If I were bionic, this is what it would feel like.
Right.
And it was very anchored in my body, and I've always been anchored in my spiritual practice. And when my friend came into the room and she's like, I saw you fighting for your life. She's like, you were just sitting, you were laying in your bed and you were staring off into space, and I could see you fighting. And I remember being in bed, and I remember, because I do that even now. I've always done that. I am somewhere else, but I'm there. But I was really somewhere else then, working it out. So deciding to stay and continue my personal healing around mother and father and heritage and lineage. And what am I? Who am I? My birth certificate says one thing. My adoption papers say it different. Is my birthday in May? Is my birthday in July? Is my father the man that my mom had an affair with, or the man she was married to? How did she know? Because when I found her, I was not emotionally equipped to ask the right questions. I was just kind of in shock that I found her. And I was so overwhelmed. I used to lock myself in the bathroom and do crunches to deal with the energy of creation, of jazz, and wanting to remove those masks, whatever they were. Known and unknown, conscious and unconscious. Right. And then to find myself about to have brain surgery, and this doctor from Angola who's just so majestic. He healed things in me that I didn't even know needed healing, because the work that I've done since being in the hospital around father and mother and home and safety and what I desire to build in the future, the notes,
right.
Has shifted so profoundly, because it's all built around love. It's not built around a false sense of self. Mm-hmm. I want people to know their value. I believe that like minds coming together, sharing space, cohabitating, showing up for each other can change the world. Mm-hmm. And one of the many kind of out-of-body experiences I had, I moved through time and saw men and women aligned throughout time working together, and how those times felt so powerful, so dynamic. We are meant to work together, masculine energy, feminine energy, whatever body it inhabits, because it's not just about gender. It's about unity.
Well, it sounds like there's the kind of reconciliation that you got from the point where your surgeon walked in. From my standpoint, it sounds like you had been doing the work for a while, maybe unconscious. It's almost as if this point was a point that everything came to a head that allowed for the literally, that allowed for this reconciliation to take place, or the beginning of reconciliation to take place, right? I don't want to be presumptuous and say, someone opens your head up and you're a completely different person, that I don't think that people are devoid of work. Once they go through some sort of awakening and realize reconciliation is starting now, right? There's still work there. How aware were you of the reading that you got, though, when this happened? That the reading that you got in terms of you're going to have a choice whether you want to stay or go.
Well, I want to say two things. The first thing I want to say is reconciliation. Well, I want to touch on that because I thought about reconciliation, the hearings that happened, and we commit crimes against ourselves that we wouldn't dare commit against other people. And so coming together for reconciliation, forgiving ourselves is huge. It's huge. And it has to happen because we can only get as far as we forgive.
Yes.
And the person that we need to forgive 9 times out of 10 is ourselves. So I'm going to put that on the table, and we don't necessarily have to know how to heal ourselves. I use the Ho'oponopono prayer. Mm-hmm. Sometimes divinity has to forgive us for us, and we have to go with that flow until we get to forgiveness within ourselves, because you don't know what you don't know. Right. And you don't know what you don't know you don't know. You don't. And so you do the best with the limited information, which is why information is so important, yet instinct is everything, because your body, your biological computer, is constantly giving you feedback. We have to learn how to trust it. Again, that's 1. 2, give me the question again.
Old Jay is back.
Yeah.
The idea that you spoke to a reader,
yes,
who went and said that you're going to have a choice to make in the future. How much was that in your mind when you were going through this, or was it something that you weren't even thinking about?
I heard her. I had liked her for a while, and I thought, let's just play. Be careful what you play with, my friends.
Exactly, yes.
Be careful what you play with.
Really be careful.
And
as a professional bear poker in the spiritual world, be careful.
Yeah. Never be arrogant. And so she told me that, and I was like, game on. It's like, I could be anchored in my body.
How long ago was this?
May.
She told you...
Weeks before.
In May?
In May. Yeah. Crazy.
So this was fresh in your dome.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And, it's funny because I was posting on Facebook. I was getting up at like 6 a.m. I was entangled with one of my instructors. I could feel her energy. I could feel when she woke up in the morning. I could definitely feel when she was in the hood. So I was awake, and that's not me. That is not how I roll in the mornings.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, we are turning over a new leaf. I like this new leaf. I can get up. I can train for 2 hours like an animal, come home, eat, take a shower, and start working and be done with my day at 3 or 4, and not, So I was digging it. It lasted all of like a week before I started getting headaches. And like, I can be anchored in my body. Like, I've been working out since I was 16 years old. I know how to do that. And it's funny because, you know, in my humanness, I thought some big, like, I would know, this is it. I get to choose. And it's like, no, it's those silent, sneaky little things that, you know, all of a sudden you're in the hospital fighting for your life. Thank universe for antibiotics.
So
never thought I'd say that.
So never at all were you thinking, this is still a choice, Jazz. This is still a choice. You've been given it. You're gonna, you know, you're gonna get transferred, you know, to another place
to another unit.
You're gonna get transferred to another unit. It never occurred to you to entertain that transfer.
You know, I was probably for the rest of my life very present and very, very, very in my body. Oh, that's what she meant. I have ADD, so I'm like, oh, pretty flower.
Aha moments all the time on the Golden Mike podcast.
Yeah, I was like, oh, pretty flower. Look at that. And I was present in my body. I really wasn't aware that I was fighting, but something was happening. Something is happening when I'm off. I'm there, but I'm not there.
Mm-hmm.
And that my dear friend was able to put words to it has helped me understand my process. The value of having people around you of like mind is that they can witness you and put language to things that sometimes we can't. So being in my body and being present was that moment. I did not think, oh, I should be present. I should be in my body. Oh, this is the moment that she said. It wasn't until after.
Sure. Okay.
You know?
Did you think about regrets? Sinatra style? Regrets? I've had a few.
Oh, I love Sinatra.
Right.
Oh, my God. No, I don't have any regrets. I've always done what I wanted to do.
So it was just about straight up, I know that I know that I want to stay and continue doing what I've been doing.
I don't know that I knew I wanted to stay. I was told to write, and Mark, something else was going on. It wasn't whatever, we live in a multiverse, and we're all connected through the field, across space and time. I couldn't tell you that in my humanness, in this body, and this mind, and this ego, that I thought, oh, I think I'm going to stay. Oh, I still have things to do. Oh, I wish I had done that. There was nothing, Mark. There was nothing. There was no thought. There was nothing. I was just somewhere, sitting up in my ICU bed, looking off, doing whatever it is I was doing in that morning, having whatever experience I was having in that moment. But I didn't have any humanness around those things.
How much of that might have been your military training?
Oh, it's fascinating. I think everyone should do two things. They should go to conservatory, and they should go to the military. The military teaches you what your body can do, how far you can push it beyond thresholds. Conservatory teaches you how to access the other facets of your being that no one really teaches us about, unless you're in conservatory as an actor and accessing different parts of your being. I think it had very little to do with the military,
really?
To be quite honest. If there was anything that the military had anything to do with, it was sharpening perhaps an already incredibly willful child. Because that is what got me out of bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, that and God and the council at 6 o'clock in the morning, in tears most of the time, with blurry vision, to drag myself into the kitchen and start administering IVs and clearing lines. I don't know how I did that, but I was fighting for my life every day.
Well, I heard you had a couple songs
Oh yeah, I made a playlist.
I heard you had a playlist for this.
And I did.
I got to hear some of those. I got to hear some of these songs. And Joe, and I know that you're editing this. Maybe we can put some of the songs in the background.
Oh, that'd be cool.
So what songs does Jazz Biancci, who's not a morning person, right? It's admittedly not a morning person. 6 frickin' a.m. Administering IVs. What gets you in that IV spirit?
Well, it was a sorted mix. There was Love Train. That's my favorite song. I had to give my IVs in the mood.
Join hands. I love it. I love it. So we got Love Train.
We got Love Train. We had I Rise Up. We had I Am Blessed. Caribbean song. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love that song. We had Beyonce, of course. Actually, it was Destiny's Child, Survivor. And I'll have to play some for you because I can't remember them all. But mostly
yeah, she's raising her fist up right now. I can't help but that there were days where the songs may not have helped as much. And I could see maybe some wear and tear, why?
Well, that's interesting. The songs helped every single day I played them.
Really?
Because as long as I got out of that bed and I got into the kitchen and made the coffee, there were days I did them crying, but the music did help because the music speaks to your soul. That's why music is so powerful.
Yeah.
That's why the songs we listen to matter.
Yeah, yeah.
And there were tears, but I was, in the mornings especially, I was aware that I was being held up and that I was, Marc, I could hardly see. Mm-hmm. So to know if I got all those champagne bubbles, as they're called, out of my line, I was aware I wasn't alone. I was physically alone, but spiritually, the posse, God was there. So, actually the songs helped every single time. Where it got hard was late at night and during the day, because friends would come over and I would answer the door and I would be hysterical. I was so tired because I was giving IVs every 3 hours, 3 to 12 hours. So I had IVs. See if I can remember my schedule. At 7, at 1, at 5, at 11. And not just one, but I would piggyback them. So it'd be 2 IVs, and they would each take about 45 minutes to an hour, depending on the drip and the setup time. Yeah, I believe that's right. 5 hours a day.
So what do you do to pass the time? I mean,
I would try to sleep.
Yeah, okay.
The best I could, I would try to sleep.
You would just rest.
Yeah, I didn't have the Wi-Fi on because I didn't want that interfering with the process, even though I'm sure it's everywhere. Mm-hmm. And friends would come over and we would talk, and that would be great. Seriously, I don't know what I would have done without people passing through as frequently as they did. Right. Because I needed touch, I needed to be held, I needed to cry, I needed my hand to be held, because it was so I needed my peeps, and they were there, and I just tried to get sleep whenever I could, and it wasn't easy, which is why I cried so much, because I was in pure exhaustion. Right, right. But I never knew how much I wanted to live until that moment. In fact, I would say that if I have a PhD in anything, it's in various levels of separation and death wishes. Oh my God. Seriously, I mean, I've almost died quite a few times. Yeah. Just didn't have the wherewithal, the training that wasn't the moment for me to be activated into the person that I am now. Right. It was just part of the process.
Right.
But I was surprised by that.
Sure. I'd see you being surprised by a whole bunch of things here. Now, I know that it's very strange, but the IVs are over, and my assumption is that they're not coming over as much now that you're healing up.
Right.
How much do you miss that?
Well, it's hard too, right? So,
right.
It's really hard. It's like I'm healing. I'm in process, right? So while the physical, the IVs are gone, there's still, my brain is still healing. So part of this process and part of the amazing people that I had in my life up to this point who have taught me how to ask for what I need is being honest with myself. Okay, Jay, what do you need? Oh, I need some support right now. So I'll send out emails or text messages. Hey, can I crash on your sofa for a night or two? Because I need contact. I need human contact. I need to not feel alone. Mm-hmm. But people aren't mind readers, so if I don't ask, right. How are they going to know? And I think that's something that we all could get in the practice of asking for what we need. And if they can do it, great. If they can't do it, that's fine too. One of my gorgeous, beautiful friends spent every Friday and Saturday night with me for a month. And we laughed and shared stories, like deep stories. We have to talk to each other. We have to talk to each other. Listening to her journey has helped me embrace my own and be more courageous. It's helped me see how life conspires for my favor, and brings people to my life that have helped me shed an old identity, knowingly or unknowingly, to embrace more of who I am. Because we all have shame about who we are for one reason or another, and part of the journey back to wholeness is making peace with those parts of ourselves, being honest and finding acceptance. And we do that through sharing our stories, through talking to one another.
Yeah.
So she would come over and we would have, I love her, we would have the most insane, we're like Lucy and Ethel, just having fun and mayhem and calamity, and it's just all grace. It's all beauty and all grace. And, so then that ended, and I was just like, oh my God. But then another friend came in town. One door closed, another door opened. And so I found some sofas to sleep on, and then some invitations came in. Hey, it's the holidays. Do you want to come spend 5 days here? Yeah, I do. Mm-hmm. So I kind of feel like, I don't know if it was Little Red Riding Hood, something in the Three Bears. She tried out beds. I was like trying out families.
Goldilocks.
Yes. So it was like Jazz and the three families. Which family feels best? This is kind of lumpy.
Too hard.
Right.
This soup is too hot.
Ooh, this is just right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and so learning the mechanics and the dynamics of what feels empowered and safe and relaxing, and being an instrument and exploring that.
I really love the fact that you're bringing up the word exploring, because you've used since the very beginning of this episode the word, your conscious family, or your chosen family. Mm-hmm. And what's really interesting about what's going on right now, Jazz, through all of this is, in this period of time, multiple times you've been moved by the way that your family has responded. And also, I see you pushing yourself to say, okay, what does, almost not redefine, but let me expand upon this idea of family and what that feels like. Because now, if you're talking about Goldilocks and the three bears, you're talking about like, what is that ideal situation for me right now? What is that ideal family unit right now? Is that what I'm picking up on?
Yes, it is what you're picking up on. It's funny, before I knew better, I remember seeing the Josephine Baker story and how she adopted all of these children. She had this international household of all these beautiful children from all over the world. And I thought, oh man, I want to do that. And I must have been like 16, 17, I don't know, when I saw that movie. And
I don't know Josephine Baker, but it just sounds like the old lady in the shoe who had so many kids she didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's nothing like that.
No, it's nothing like that. No, I always know what to do when it comes to certain things.
When it comes to living in shoes.
Yes, that's funny. But yeah, I want to, like, my life is international. My people are international. There was something like 27, 28 countries of origin of those that are in my life. I love that.
Hey, it's Marc. I hope you're digging the Golden Mike podcast. If you have or are just starting your own revolution fueled by joy, there's a site I created for you. If you, like me, believe that personal growth is simply not enough, if you, like me, are committed to changing history for the better in both micro and macro ways, check out joyrevolution.com. In there, you'll find an archive of our over 200 Golden Mike Live Facebook shows, and of course, our podcast that you're currently listening to. Check out the blogs highlighting how positive psychology and joy theory apply to your everyday life. There's even some cool clips from our Joy Revolution course geared towards influencers, speakers, writers, and change agents. It's all there. Go to joyrevolution.com. That's joyrevolution.com. Let's get back to the episode. Is exploring internationally something that you're looking at? Because I know you said you've almost left here, New York, a few times, and a few hundred times. And, you know, there's a reason why you stay.
Apparently so.
You know, and also at the same time, your network is quite wide.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, have you thought about exploring, you know, going internationally and stuff like that?
Many times. And part of the reason why I moved to New York is because I was closer to Paris, and I wanted to be an expat writer in French Quarter. I did eventually get to Paris. Not what I thought it would be. And yet, at the same time, I learned a lot. But I don't know where life will take me. I'm not opposed to being international. I just know I love people, and I love diversity, and inclusivity and unity is incredibly important to me because your strengths are not my strengths. You have wisdom that I don't have via your lineage. And so we all have this ability to tap into our bloodlines. You know, and we're more alike than we are different, to be quite honest. God bless Tribeca. And so we have these lineages.
By the way, it's like they're taking a shower that's 2 times more powerful now.
It's probably from a different line.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
There's different lines in the walls.
I mean, that's a fire hose going off right now up there.
Welcome to my hood. I really believe that when we think about our bloodlines, and not in a way of like, my mother's Italian and I have an Italian bloodline, but I mean the things that our people have endured, our collective people have endured, and the strength that, it's epigenetics, right? The strength that we inherit, also the trauma we inherit, which, you know, we can choose to work on and heal 7 generations forward and 7 generations back. But just from the strength aspect, you know, we are stronger together. And the more diverse we are, the stronger we are because we have more access to the bandwidth is greater of strength. Energetically, it's deep.
It makes so much sense. And yet also at the same time, why is it so difficult for so many of us?
Because we buy into the illusion of 3D. It's like, turn off the television, please. Turn it off. Turn it off. It is an instrument. Damn, I didn't want to get political. It's an instrument that is used to create drama and fear and excitement and turn on the brain in a way that causes or feeds addictions to perhaps behaviors that don't serve us.
So like dopamine hits, changing the way that changing your self-image on the inside, or wanting to change your self-image to make it look like what's on the telly. And
how much positive reinforcement is there on the telly for relationships? There's always someone doing something to somebody.
Right.
That is not necessarily reality.
Right. Or when things start getting hard, that's when the movie ends, right? They fall in love, they find each other, and they don't talk about sort of what, the work of like Barbara Fredrickson. Of course, I don't expect them to talk about the work of Barbara Fredrickson, but it's been found that we have these mirror neurons that just, you constantly have to be reconnecting and reconnecting and reconnecting. It's not that you find the one person and you ride off. So yeah, absolutely. You're activating me around this as well, because I am a person that bought into those things growing up. Oh, I want to find the right person and stuff like that.
The one.
The one, exactly. I think that it really is interesting that telly can be really an instrument for why we're not talking nowadays.
Yeah, an instrument of divisiveness, an instrument of fear. Mm-hmm. The news, really? I mean, you get up and you watch the news, you have primed yourself towards negativity.
Sure.
You come home, you watch it again. You've primed yourself.
Sure.
And your energy arrives before you do.
Sure.
So unless you are like diligent with checking yourself, okay, how am I going in? How am I walking into my home? How am I greeting my mate? How am I greeting my children? Who do I want to be right now? Am I behaving as the person with my values, or am I buying into the 3D, the competition, the every dog for himself? There must be some drama going on here. If men and women can't be friends. I got rid of my television like 12 years ago. So,
well, I also, I want to come at it from the standpoint of maybe a biologist or an evolutionary biologist who might come back and say, well, Jazz, our brains are still wired for fight or flight when we were, running from a T-Rex and stuff like that, right?
Right.
And so we would naturally have a negativity bias with or without a television.
Correct.
What is your thought on that?
But it's easier to be mindful when you're not asleep. So when we're children, a lot of the times, we see it every day. You give your kid an iPad to entertain themselves, to play a game. You got put in front of Sesame Street, or the television. We're groomed. The television is an instrument to learn from. It's a teaching tool when we're kids.
Right.
But we forget that we're still being taught. It's still nutrition. We're still taking in information as adults. And we'd like to believe that our will is stronger and that we are less impressionable than we actually are.
Wow. So, not to get too hyperbolic, but are you saying that it can be used as an indoctrination tool for social compliance and fear mongering?
It sounds like that's what you're saying, my friend. And
that is what I'm saying. That is my point.
I concur.
Oh, okay, great.
I concur.
And I don't think that it's just I don't think that it is just the telly that we're talking about here. We're talking about multiple things going on. Like, for example, in research, you open up any, maybe not as much as before, but still it's pretty prevalent. You open up a psychological journal, and 9 out of the 10 articles are freaking about some sort of sociopathy, some sort of negative, what we deem as negative thing. And then there's one piece on joy or resilience, right? And so you've got like this 9-to-1 ratio, and automatically you would think that the world is fucked up from that, right? Yeah. Because if there's that much research on all this pathology, we got to fix that pathology because it's so prevalent.
And if you're reading it, it must be true.
And if you're reading it, it absolutely must be true. So I think that it's really interesting, the fact that many systems that are meant for education can be turned into these indoctrinating systems, or systems of social compliance, or systems that may or may not understand that it's kind of promulgating fear for us to kind of stay these model citizens.
Yes, I mean, it's not like critical thinking is taught in schools, and unless we take it upon ourselves to say, I wonder if there's more to this story. I wonder if it's true. Because if we live in a place where there's no diversity, and we don't have exposure to different cultures or different people, it's so easy to accept and adopt a stereotype or a
overgeneralization.
Yes.
Yeah.
Instead of saying, I'm going to ask my friend about that. I mean, for me, what was really interesting when I was in the hospital, we're in New York City. I was in the hospital and I have curly hair. So, hair politics. And I got like a huge lock because of some glue from gluing my skull back together. I got into my hair. And so all my nurses, like, no one knew how to care for curly hair. Like, you have to care for curly hair differently than you care for straight hair. Curly hair needs oil. It doesn't need to be dry. You don't, like, take all the moisture out of it. And so I was, like, having a crisis in my bed. I had sent my girlfriends, like, a voice message, like, please pay my hairstylist whatever she wants. Just get her here. Because it's like, do none of you have any, like, Latina, biracial, Mediterranean friends? You didn't check YouTube? Like, I know you're busy.
Right.
But, like, you're here to, like, care for me. Mm-hmm. Not everyone has the same hair. Not everyone has the same response. Not everyone, like, people are individuals. We're the same, but we're unique.
What did they get? Someone from Hair Cuttery with a comb and a smile?
No, bendito. They.
Well, actually, I shouldn't say Hair Cuttery because they're going to be sponsors of the Golden Mike podcast next month. So I don't want to call that out.
Yes, cut Joe. Cut that out.
Cut that out, Joe.
I don't know. It's we tend to hang around people who are like us.
Absolutely. Likes attract likes, even in nature.
And we have something that animals don't have. We have the ability to make choice and choose and to think for ourselves and to think outside the box, like engage with curiosity. I do not understand how you don't have any friends of color. And I'm talking from the off-white crayon to all through the range. I'm not like...
Just say it.
Just say it. Like
black crayon. You know?
But like, I mean, there's so much color.
Exactly. Everything in the 64 box.
Yeah. Not just the one color.
Right.
How are you not curious about how other people live? And then we think it's just, oh, well, that's just what Italians do. I've heard my friends say that's just how Indians are. Really? Because that's what they said over there, and they're not Indian. I think we're all very much alike, and we need to start talking to each other. How's that? A.
Yeah.
And B, it's like one of the things that I learned through this experience is love is love. Period. There's like no like, well, fishy. I don't know if I love her. No, you either love me or you don't love me. And around my bed was Haiti, Puerto Rico, Guatemala, Venezuela, Italy, Israel, Palestine, Dominican Republic, Panama. I can feel my brain. It was so beautiful. And everyone was loving on everyone. Mm-hmm. Like they had been friends forever.
Oh, so your council were folks that had they were your council, but they are folks that hadn't convened. Like this is not your posse.
I have multiple posses. You know, it's like I'm a dancer, I'm a speaker, I'm a Kabbalist practitioner, I'm a positive psychology practitioner. I run in a lot of diverse circles, you know, and so some pockets knew each other, some pockets didn't know each other, and so different people would come together at different times. There are girls that I have danced with for 5 years every day, 5 hours a day. There are people from my past life, you know, when I first got to New York. There are people from my spiritual community, and everyone's converging and hugging and exchanging phone numbers and like being there for me and advocating on my behalf. And friends who couldn't be here, who, you know, flew in but couldn't stay, appointed representatives. Like, how amazing is that to make sure that I was okay? I trust her to handle the situation because I can't be here. So I'm appointing her as my representative to be there for you.
Well, you need to fire the person that was handling the phone because I was trying to send you messages. But you've got these powers, so hopefully you receive the messages.
Yes.
I wanted to throw this out, and this is kind of going on a little swerve. But you know, one of the things I love about you is that you talk about sort of the multiple things. I am this, I am that, I am this, I am that. And every time someone says that, it shows a different side of, it just shows a different persona, right?
Right.
And the persona is something very real that we put on when we go to 5 hours of dance, right? You don't necessarily have to wax poetic like we're doing right now at dance, right? Even though I think you do when, I had a feeling that she's making this face like, I can't help it, guys. But like, there's something different from the persona, and that's the personality. Yeah. And this is the jazz that when this podcast is over, when no one's around you, this is the jazz that walks around. I don't know, maybe in your, a 10-year-old T-shirt that's too big for you, right? Mm-hmm. And you're not thinking about people watching you, or you're not thinking about your persona. What is that jazz? Huh. Or who is that jazz?
It's funny. This morning I was in meditation, and I could stay in meditation for hours, whether I'm chanting in Sanskrit or Hebrew or breathing and communing with something greater than myself. When I was little, I wanted to be a nun. I didn't understand it. I didn't know what they did, but there was something about it. Today, when I was in meditation, I'm like, oh, this feels amazing. This is why I wanted to be a nun.
A little side note, I still want to be a priest.
Wow.
And when the Pope says that we can start doing the hippity dippity with our wives, I'm totally jumping ship.
That's funny. I might be able to touch that one with a 10-foot pole. But we all have access to God.
Yeah.
We don't need intermediaries. You know, it's great to have guides.
Yeah.
But ultimately, everything we need is within us.
Yeah.
So the jazz that is not the dancer, not the speaker, that just is. Yeah, I don't know that there's words for that.
Try.
Dare I say omnipotence? Because through the field, quantum physics, we have access to everything and everyone, all that has ever been and ever be, all that has been, in any given moment. And that was the oneness that you were talking about earlier. What's behind your eyes and animates you is the same thing that's behind my eyes and animates me. We're entangled. We can feel each other. We have been taught to believe that we're separate, that we should doubt our connections, but we're all connected. And so I find myself going into that place more and more because I'm curious in the ever awakening that I'm experiencing as a being here on this blue and green marble, and being able to feel you and call you in and then have you call, or being able to connect with something greater than myself or my own breath to calm down and work with the circuitry in my brain and to soothe that organ that was exposed to something. And everyone's organ brain is exposed to. How do we work with that? You know? And so I would say me without personality and persona. It's the same thing that you are, and the same thing that everyone is listening to.
Wow.
This golden mic podcast is just pure light and energy, and it doesn't matter about the judgments. You know, we all make mistakes. We all turn left when we should have turned right. We all do things that sometimes we aren't necessarily proud of, but we're all light. We're all love, and we're all connected. And so it's like when I look at you, I can feel the heat coming off of you. God is everywhere.
This engine runs hot. So, I think one of the question about the omnipotence piece, to build on that is, I would say that not a lot of people would think that they have access to that. And then also at the same time, not a lot of people would be daring to throw it out there like that. What does the world need to know right now?
What we do to another, we do to ourselves. And that the power within us, the power in the collective, the power of the people is in the numbers. And while we may have suits on that give us boundaries and borders, energetically we are all connected. There is no boundary, there is no border. We're all spirit. And so that ability to come together and join, like, what was that?
Voltron?
Yes.
You know you can always count on me for the 80s cartoons.
Yes, the ability to come together and mobilize and change things. If we could just sit down, that need to have it our way, to be right, to control shit. There is a divine intelligence. Be the light. Just be the light and work with those who are the light. Not to enforce your will, not to convert or to make or condemn, but to collaborate and to converge and to commune and to build something greater than the individual self, the goodness of all.
So I'm still going to push you, Jazz, because there's, that's absolutely, I agree with you, and I think that it's incredibly empowering. And I think for listeners, as they're getting to know you, which I think is very important, because you're going to see a lot more jazz in 2020 and beyond. We are these spirits, right?
Yeah.
But we've also chosen these meat suits to live in, right?
Why do you think that is?
From the spirit standpoint?
From any standpoint you want to give it.
I think it is what it is because I think number one is the spirit. We as spirits have been called to this particular place at this particular time because the earth is about to go through a major upgrade. And it feels like there was an all points call out for us to come here. And I don't know what a soul contract is, but I do think that in choosing the meat suit and choosing the situation and choosing the vessel that we would occupy for a particular mission, we willingly chose to forget certain things, to not only improve the soul, but also to be able to live this life and understand what was going on. And essentially the point of life is just remembering some of that amazing shit that we chose to forget about when we entered these meat suits, and when I, as, glorious spirit that's in this Filipino American meat suit with purple hair for 2020, I think about the things that almost like as a kid that I knew. And then it's almost like when I started watching the TV, I forgot about. And then it just, as I've gotten back into my 40s, even 30s, it was important for me to start doing things with what positive psychologists would call meaning and purpose, intentionality. And I don't have it all figured out, but I do know that I completely agree with you in terms of us being these wildly powerful spirits. And to think about being wildly powerful is cool, but I also think about my spirit being bored. And then it's almost like a challenge. Come here and look at these folks that have been dropping atomic bombs. They're messing up the multiverse. And let's go over there and let's give it an upgrade now. And that's my thought on things. And so if you ask me what my personality is like, my personality is one in which there's a spiritual component to it that feels very similar to yours. But the meat suit component is one in which I think there's people who see me on the golden mic and think that I'm a certain way with that. But I'm also a person that vacillates between solitude, which I love. I'm a hermit, and loneliness, the wanting to be the wanting to have a counsel, right? Or the quirkiness, or I don't even call it out of the box thinking, but just sort of wanting to do things in a way that improves things, and people are like, "You're crazy as shit, man." And then the yearning to want to fit in with people. Like it's a very fragile child almost when I think about my personality when people aren't around. And the facades that I put on are not necessarily facades of defense, but they're just what they are. When it's time for the golden mic, I put it on and I honor my guest. But I think that it's something that I reflect on quite a bit. Who is the Marc that when the podcasts are off and no clients are coming in and I'm not with my child, who is that guy?
Who am I?
Exactly. Who is that guy? And at the core, what can I do to recognize that more? Because for me, that's where my shadow dwells. And that's why, to me, this is just an I statement. That's why I put on masks, to cover up the shadows.
Tell me more about the shadows.
Okay.
Because people may not know what you're referring to. I mean, they may think shadow is evil.
No, I don't think that it's evil at all. I think it's more so, it's the part of my being in which I, at one point, consciously chose to take certain elements of myself and push it down into the unconscious and stuff it down there. And as a result, I have blind spots towards what I call the light, the light shadow or the golden shadow. These are things in which, for example, we both share a wonderful, wonderful mentor in Trisha Brooke, in which I feel like she's fantastic in identifying our golden shadows and what we can do on stage and what we're capable of doing with our lives. And then there's other pieces. For example, I'm a person who very easily says that I experience envy. And for the longest period of time, I thought envy was just an emotion. I was just a jealous, insecure person. But what I've been realizing is envy is more so me seeing another person capable of doing something that I'm capable of doing. And because my ego doesn't want to hold itself accountable for not doing the work to do something amazing, like maybe a one-person show on Broadway or something, right?
Right.
I'm envious of that person. And so for me, a lot of the shadow work comes when everything is shut off. I hope you enjoyed the Golden Mike podcast. There's more good stuff coming your way. But until the next episode, let's stay in touch, yes? Find us on Instagram as The Joy Rev, or communicate with like-minded revolutionaries in our Facebook group. Search The Joy Revolution Underground. And of course, don't forget to check out the classes, articles, blogs, and some serious fun at joyrevolution.com. That's joyrevolution.com. Now, until then, what will you do to change history for the better? Let's go out and play, shall we? Press start to begin.